I'm Melissa Nakhavoly outside Toronto Police Headquarters, where downtown residents were able to have their say tonight over what they'd like to see in Toronto's next top cop. Now, several virtual consultations will be taking place over the next several weeks, so residents can ask questions and also learn about the selection process.
One of the Toronto Police Services Board's most significant decisions is selecting the next chief of police.
It's an ongoing search, which according to the Toronto Police Board will be heavily reliant on public opinion for the sake of transparency.
It's not a decision that comes along very often, and when it does, it's important to tap into public sentiment and be informed by the diverse voices across the city.
Some of which had a chance to voice their thoughts.
I'd like to see more Toronto recruits. Like, you have to live here for at least 5 years before you apply.
I would like the new police chief, if we are getting one, to look at ways that they can cut their budget because we're in a global pandemic and a huge amount of resources dedicated to policing just doesn't make sense.
Toronto has been without a permanent police chief since July of last year, when former Chief Mark Saunders took an early retirement. Since then, the police board hired a research firm to interview key stakeholders, including city employees and community groups.
There is a lot of public sentiment about community safety, about policing accountability, about transparency. And the board wanted to ensure that those voices were infused into how it was going about making its decision.
The search comes after months of continuing calls for reform when it comes to policing in the wake of fatal shootings and excessive use of force on Black and Indigenous people across North America. Tonight, downtown residents spoke about how whoever takes the post will need to work alongside vulnerable communities to develop a level of trust that they say just isn't there.
I've seen the physical body language change when police are around. I've seen them draw back when the police are around, and it speaks to the culture of policing in the city that needs to be changed.
The group tonight was asked what would be important when selecting a new chief. Residents said of high importance would be a chief who is accountable to communities and someone with a diverse mindset and equity lens. Scarborough residents will be able to have their say next week, followed by North York the week after. Now, the board says that this will be a lengthy process, but the hope is to have a police chief picked out by the end of this year. Melissa Nakhavoly, City News.